Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Here we are back with Chapter 2, Individual Leadership and Entrepreneurial Startups. Still talking about laying the groundwork for a small business. So let's just talk about the difference between a large organization and entrepreneurial business. We talked a little bit about that in the last section, or the last chapter, but it is important to continue to focus on that because I think it's something that people can get confused on. So let's just quickly compare and contrast large organizations and the entrepreneurial business. So in a large, well-established organization, no one person is crucial to the survival of the business, even the president of the company. Like everyone is expendable in a large company. Large organizations also have usually a lot of different types of knowledge bases throughout the business. So multiple people know things about one aspect of the business. So if a single person leaves, there's always minimal disruption to the organization. So there's always someone else who can usually fill in the information. So also large organizations have greater access to resources, including financial resources. And excess resources usually refer to organizational slack, which is a good thing. And they allow large organizations flexibility that's not necessarily available to typical entrepreneurial venture because of, money helps, basically. So in contrast, that entrepreneurial business is generally dependent on a single individual or a few individuals for the business to survive. And the new business usually has few formal procedures. They have a concentration of knowledge in those individuals who start the business, and usually limited slack resources or limited extra cash. And the absence of slack or financial resources means the new firm has limited flexibility in responding to emergency issues, such as the need to hire a replacement if the company loses key individuals. They might be able to respond, but they might have hiring problems. With flexibility in terms of response, we talked about in the last chapter, but it's flexibility in terms of money's tight. It's the idea of the lean organization. So as a result of that, the founders usually of an entrepreneurial business and the leadership they provide play a significantly more crucial role in the business's success than does senior leadership in a typical large organization. And not that it's not important, it's just a different kind of thing. And the importance of the individual in the founding and managing of a new business is really the focus of what we're going to talk about in this chapter, and that kind of thing. We'll also talk about family businesses. It's one in which the ownership and employment are centered around the family. And family businesses have some unique issues of which we're going to talk about in the chapters. They also play a unique role in our economy. All right, so collaboration is really important. That you can never underestimate the importance of collaboration and having all sorts of taking feedback from people. The collaboration and also in the ownership and that kind of thing. So advantages of the new business is that it's owned and run by the same person. The whole idea of increased flexibility. They're able to fill in niches. They can they have a lot of effort. They put a lot of effort into maximizing the value of the business. It's hugely important. Okay, so agency theory is something that's really important. Agency theory is a managerial theory that believes that individuals act to maximize their own benefit. So when you own your own business, it's your own benefit that if you grow the business, you're going to benefit from that. If you work for a company and you grow the business, you may or may not benefit from it. If the business goes down, you'll just go on and get another job. So the idea of agency is that if it's your own business, you have some sort of personal stake in it, that you will work more to maximize that. That's why a lot of times in big businesses, they'll give people stock options and ownership options so that they have some level of stake in the value of the business. But generally speaking, if things aren't going well and you can cut ties without any kind of harm to yourself, then you'll do it. In a small business, you can't do that. So these are when you're thinking about hang on. Also, the example they give in the book, sorry about that, is this whole idea of agency, is that expenses. I give the example of the airfare, that if you work for a company and you want to take a last-minute trip, and it costs $6,000 to go first class direct, you're going to do it because someone else is paying for that, as opposed to if you are a small business and maybe you can get a flight for $1,000 and it includes connecting and it's not first class. You're probably going to do that over the $6,000 flight because that balance is going to come out of your pocket or the business's pocket. So it's a good example of agency theory. Anyway, so let's talk about evaluating your own potential for entrepreneurial potential. And we're going to talk about 3 different things: risk tolerance, prior experience, and personality. So the risk tolerance idea is this idea of how are you risk averse, risk positive, or risk averse, or risk neutral? That is, how much are you willing to put out there? How comfortable are you with some ambiguity? Do you spend less and save more? Are that kind of thing. So, how much sacrifice are you willing to make? That kind of thing. So, you need to know. There's a great example in the book. They talk about 3 different friends who are thinking about starting a business, and one is some are more risk averse than others, and the ability to take risk. So you need to know that, like, how much. What's your tolerance? Are you willing to take a big gamble, or are you a little more conservative? That's risk tolerance. Prior experience is how much experience do you have in the field, and so you're thinking of opening a business, but you've never worked in a restaurant before? Like, that could be a problem. So, do you have, or are you going to open a business and you're really great at finance, and someone else is really great at marketing, and someone else is really great at managing people, and you all have complementary skills. So what's your prior experience, and does it fit in with what you're trying to do? And this idea of, also our history, our culture, values, they also, they help, those are the things that help us interpret the world around us. And they also place boundaries on how we see the world. So we really are only this idea of bounded rationality that we only know from our own experience. And so because of that can play a role. So it's, the idea is that you need to be somewhat unrestricted in your thoughts and ideas. So everyone has their own version of reality, and we all see things in a different way. Okay, so let's talk about the next one, personality orientation. So this is an important thing. There are a variety of different personality tests, and you can look those up if you'd like. I think they're very interesting. There's the Myers-Briggs. It talks about how you gain extroversion and introversion. It specifically talks about where you get your energy from, being alone or being with others. How you take in information. Do you sensing in terms of like the 5 senses, see, touch, feel, hear, or is it more, do you go with the gut feeling? How you make decisions. Do you do it by thinking? Do you do it by feeling? This, greater good. Are you a judger in terms of everything likes to be organized, or a perceiver, someone who's open to new experiences and doesn't like to be too scheduled? So this is just one type of, just to give you an example. The point about all these things is that whether it is, you can look more into them more further. You need to make sure that you understand your own personality, and you understand the personality of the people who are going to be working with you, so that you can manage that. So if you're someone who's a planner, and you're working with someone who is not a planner, but seems to do okay, you need to be tolerant of that. You need to understand that. If you like to make decisions based on hard facts, as opposed to someone else who follows their gut, you need to be able to manage that. You need to know, if there's someone, we'll talk about the big 5, if someone is super conscientious, and they will be a person to give a lot of responsibility to. If someone is, the idea of someone's emotional stability, how erratic are they, that kind of thing. So these are all things you need to understand, your personality and the personality of the people around you, to make a best combination. Okay, so there's a variety of different triggers for starting a business. Some of them, for example, there can be either a positive or negative stimulus. You could get laid off from your job. You can be, read a book and get a great idea. You can read through those. You can have some sort of midlife crisis. You could have some sort of, you might not be unable to climb the corporate ladder for some reason. You might, whatever. There's all sorts of different reasons. It might just be something that you've always wanted to do. So essentially, we talk about two different types of triggers. There's personal motivators that come from within the person. They're usually the strongest motivations that we have. And then circumstance, someone, you've lost your job, so you need to come up with something. Or you've moved to a new town and that kind of thing. So you need to, what are the circumstances? Or, maybe that you all of a sudden see this need, the company that you work for, is looking for, doesn't have a supplier. And so you think, well, I'll start up the business to supply them with this needed product that doesn't exist. So anyway, there could be a variety of different things. And they are, some are common, some are not. So one of the other things we want to talk about is the whole idea of the glass ceiling. That's something that's common, more and more common these days. This idea of the glass ceiling is that specifically for women, that you can only go so high in a corporation just because women just don't get promoted at the same rate that men do. That's not necessarily a political statement. That is, there's documentation for that. So as a consequence of that, women really are starting new businesses at a higher rate than ever before. So again, 50% higher than those of men, and also minority women's, and women who are minorities, and also women of color. Just a trend you should be aware of. So there are a variety of different supports that are available to the entrepreneur, and there's no single support that's going to help you out more than another support, and you're going to find different supports at different times. But your family is a big support. Your social networks can be a big support. You have to have your family behind you. You have to have your friends behind you. And the community has to support you and support your business, whatever it is. You need to have financial resources. And you have to, it's going to be a variety of different sources that are going to impact you at different times. So let's look at family members. Support and guidance. They might give you funding. They might help you out. And some businesses actually do end up being family businesses. Family businesses is a little bit rough because there's a lot of, not all family businesses survive past the second generation. If there's a third generation family business, that means that there's been some good planning and good communication between the family, and frankly, probably just a lot of luck. So if you start a business, sometimes your spouse has to help you out financially for a while. Your kids or your family or friends have to be tolerant of maybe you not being around as much as you were before, that kind of thing. Right, the network of individuals. So you also, it's really important that you have people in the beginning. We talked last chapter about having a sales plan and that kind of thing, and making sure you have leads and having someone to legitimize your business. So like one good customer who's going to say, okay, you know what, this company is a great company. I've used their financial services and they've helped me out, and someone who's respected, and other people will turn to and say, hey, it's like an endorsement to a certain extent. So you want to make sure that you have a good network around you, you have people supporting you, people, good word of mouth, and people who can vouch for you. Okay, and then there's the whole idea of community. So there are a variety of different ways that the community can help you. One of the big ways that you might want to think about this idea of incubators, business incubators, or places, they talk about it in the textbook. There are places where you can go and you have shared office space, and you have a shared secretary. You might have individual office space, but a shared secretary, a shared waiting room, maybe some copy machines, that kind of stuff. Shared Wi-Fi, whatever it may be. And small business assistance centers that help to advise you, all sorts of different things that are out there to help small businesses grow. And then financial support, of course, is always important. Sometimes there are different ways you're going to get financial support, and one of them can come from yourself, one of them can come from the bank, investors, that kind of thing. So you must understand. You really need to understand the financial aspect of it, and you have to have necessary funding to keep you going for the first few years and beyond. So make sure you form a business that you enjoy doing something, that it's something that you enjoy doing. As I said, don't open a restaurant if you don't enjoy customer service. Again, I talk a little bit about this in a book about a printing shop, someone who's deciding what kind of business to start. Um, if you don't like to, as I said, interact with a lot of people, don't have a high customer interaction kind of business. If you really enjoy interacting with people, don't do something that's where you sit in an office all day and don't only interact with your computer. So you need to make sure that it's something that you really love and it's something that you understand. Because if you don't like it, it's not going to be fun because it's too hard. It's too much work and it's too hard to not be loving it. Okay, so chapter review. Here we are. Boom, boom, boom at the end. That was quick. So the most critical resource to a new venture is entrepreneur. So the person who's starting it up, just like the most critical, the most valuable resource of any business are their employees. So is the leader and also the personality of the leader. They should know what their risk tolerance is, their biases, their bounded rationality. The new businesses are time consuming but rewarding. And be sure to know all of your resources, both financial and personal, that you have access to, and do something you love. Make sure it's something you love, always. Even if you're not an entrepreneur, make sure you have a job that you love, because then it won't be a job anymore, which sounds like a cliche, but it's so totally true. Okay, thanks, guys. We'll see you back here for chapter 3. Bye.